Hello, everyone. We are Group 5, Stephanie, Monica, Andrea, Mohammed, and me. We'll be talking today about healthy lunches and biases that influence user behavior when choosing to eat healthy. The presentation is structured in the following way. We'll first talk about the main topic and context. We'll go over why we chose honest greens and the customer journey. We'll talk about their menu and how we redesigned it to fix some of its failures, and then we'll revisit the customer journey. We've chosen this topic because we feel like that everyone has been influenced by it in some way or another. We are also aware that this particular industry is has a lot of value in globally, and we wanted to experience it and understand it and analyze it to understand why there's biases and how we're being influenced by them. When we started mapping the healthy food ecosystem for potential biases, we discovered this 5. The first one is how someone can be influenced by their cultural backgrounds or traditions. The second one is about trends and tendencies. The third one is about the decision-making unit and the why we choose to eat one way or another. The fourth one is about social identity and social pressure, about who we are and who we're with when we're eating. And the fifth one is about environmental context, so where we are when this happens.
So firstly, to get things started, we have dwelled on the different values attributed to getting a healthy lunch. So for functional value, it is a good way to get the right amount of nutrients and also to become healthier. At a symbolic level, a healthy lunch appeals to self-love and sense of belonging, but also to some extent status, as it is usually more expensive than your usual meal. Social value of this experiment is, again, be part of a movement, and also to some extent because it's cool. There's also an experimental value to this experience. It provides a good environment, enjoying a meal that looks good, and the opportunity to post on social media. And finally, the conditional value is the approval from a group. Therefore, we identified 2 main areas of value that relate to this experience: the psychological and functional. In terms of psychological, it is about feeling good about themselves and feeling that self-love, also having a more wholesome dining experience, and what makes people happy and giving them a sense of purpose and overall uplifting effect. In terms of functional, people wish to be healthier. People who wish to be healthier and have a healthy meal has many functional aspects. For example, reduces the risk of diseases, and also, as mentioned previously, get the balanced amount of nutrients. The experience we'll be exploring in this presentation is getting a healthy lunch at Honest Greens. If you don't know, Honest Greens is a chain of restaurants in Madrid. There are 2 of them, one in Serrano and one in Maria de Molina. The restaurant is particularly fashionable and popular amongst SAI students and the international student crowd. We then use 2 frameworks to identify the affective and cognitive contexts and the relevant considerations when choosing Honest Greens.
Now we're going to go through our experience that we've made with Honest Greens and in choosing our healthy lunch. And I'll start by analyzing step 1, which is our decision to have lunch together. In general, as you can see, this was an emotion, more of a negative and hungry emotion. And this is something that has affected our decision making throughout the entire process. Because hunger plays a significant role in emotional and cognitive processes, it is a subjective experience and an emotional state, which enable us to make more system 1 decisions and thereby use heuristics and biases alongside the way. We also use the availability heuristics when thinking about where to have lunch and if to and to have lunch, because certain memories came to our mind more easily than others through closer distance. In general, eating and food behavior is strongly influenced by social context. We eat differently when we are with other people comparing when we eat alone, and our choices tend to converge with those of our close social connection. And this is all about it in step 2, where we together as a group decide where to go for food. We have the priming effect identified, where food is presented in our social media channels and choices are influencing our awareness unconsciously and are influencing us to make a decision. The bandwagon effect wants us to naturally blend in with the entire group, and loss aversion wants us to not miss out on an experience that was shared on social media, and something that was proposed to us by friends via social media will make us pay more attention to those kind of restaurants compared to other restaurants around us.
So when arriving to the restaurant, the biggest surprise is the paper menu everyone gets. One for each, and it's only meant to be read and tossed afterwards. As customers, we cannot help to think this is very inefficient, not only because of the printed menu, but because the sheet has so much information, it's impossible to make a choice. We are hungry and on a hurry, so the long line is also a pressure factor, so there's no time to evaluate the options in the menu. And as we walk in, we immediately have a prejudice bias, asking ourselves how green this company actually is. Nevertheless, under the pressure, we made a group decision to go have lunch there without thinking of other options very much. So in the restaurant, we realized the experience is not really coherent with a healthy food restaurant. And the corporate values are not really as green as their name states.
The next step was our ordering process. Something that we were directly influenced by when entering the restaurant was the direct view in the kitchen and the smell that wanted us to get some of the delicious food. The menu that we've received before affected our biases of choice overload. Also, the length of the menu was pretty long, and we were not able to recall all of the items, which caused a lot of confusion amongst us and a lot of exchanges. Also, the setup of the layout of the menu didn't enable us to remember and just caused a lot of confusion amongst us.
So when making a decision, we either go with the usual, being in the less is better effect, although knowing it is not fantastic, but it's okay and we don't want to risk it because we don't understand the menu, or we go with the appeal of novelty fallacy, choosing something new and don't liking it or feeling disappointed by our novel option. Satisfaction is not increasing because we feel blinded to decisions on possible dishes. And also, with an open kitchen and plates flowing all around the restaurant, FOMO is very real. And the wondering of what other people are eating but not being able to find out. And fear of missing out has been analyzed as a trigger for social anxiety. So this is a factor we definitely are surprised by.
Lastly, when leaving the restaurant, we have been telling our friends and family about this restaurant experience. And this is a part of our group identification bias. We who identify as healthy eaters act according to group goals and interests. And we highlight by sharing photos on Instagram to our social position within that social identity. Also, evidence has proven that when sharing material and photos on social media, we get a social reward, which makes us feel better about our experience and make it even more rewarding to us and positive. So now you have been following us through our customer journey with Honest Screens. We have identified a couple of pain points that you see below. Mainly, we have categorized it in two pain points, which is process pain points, which are related to business processes and support from Honest Screens, and also productivity pain points, which was mostly about comfort and convenience on our customer side.
So there are multiple areas that can be improved at Honest Greens, and we chose the menu mainly to enhance the customer experience and also to increase the profitability of Honest Greens as a business. So we know that the menu has little time to make an impact on the customer, and it takes around 109 seconds, according to a Gallup poll, to go through a menu by the customer. And at times, a simple job such as reading the menu can become a very daunting task. According to a study by Bournemouth University, customers have an optimum number of 6 menu items for each category for fast food restaurants. And below this number, they feel that they have little choice, and above 6, they feel that it becomes discomforting. So we can assume that Honest Greens is a fast food restaurant with the current menu shown on screen. And although it has 6 choices for the salad bowls, the problem remains in the long list of ingredients. We see that ingredients are lined up and the customer has to go through all of them. It visually communicates that there are too many choices in the salad and that the customer has to go through all of them and creates a paradox of choice. It makes it harder for the customer to make a decision while the customer starts comparing the ingredients of the different bowls. Now, this choice overload leads to a decision fatigue, and this happens when we start making lower quality decisions and we take the easiest choice to avoid the mental exhaustion which would also lead to action bias at times. And this is when we find ourselves having to make a decision after taking a lot of time to go over the menu and trying to avoid an uncomfortable situation, such as maybe leaving the restaurant. So we tend to end up in a food choice that we do not want and making our experience an average or maybe even a bad experience.
So we've tended to do menu engineering for Honest Greens. This is an activity performed to improve profit margins of businesses, but also it intends to enhance the experience of the customers. We've identified 6 different things to go over. 3 are aimed at customers, which are creating a flow that is easier to understand the whole menu and its dynamics. The second would be to create a lower list of items, but also have that information displayed in tabs rather than under the plate's name, and make it easier to order and pay for the food. For the restaurant, we've also considered 3 main things. First, priming or anchoring prices at the top of lists so that the customer feels that the rest of the list is cheaper, and this increases the profit margin. Second, we've removed currencies from the different items. There's a study from Cornell University of Hotel Administration that found that people who were handed the menu with prices written out in numbers only spend way more money. And lastly, we've highlighted the most important dishes. This could be done by the restaurant to identify which dishes they want the customer to be choosing more often. This is the result of what we've done. Here, the customer will be experiencing a flow that allows them to choose the different plates they want and continuously adds the money that they've chosen of each plate so that they know that their total before they arrive at the registry. It also has the information so that they can constantly refer back to it and know what they're eating and how each plate has been categorized.
Finally, on the new and improved customer journey, we have considered the changes made in our menu redesign. And here we can see how touchpoints like menu handout and paper disposable menus completely change the biases from the customers. And perception and overall satisfaction of the customer is increased. Thank you.